Hey guys, I want to give you 5 baits that I've got in my tackle box that I think every angler should have when they're fishing in the fall. Okay, so number 1, a spinner bait. You know, spinner baits are incredible shallow water baits. They're able to get into cover, you know, woods, grass, trees, whatever it may be. Imitates a shad very good. The thump, the blades, also imitates the swimming patterns of shad. And they just really catch fish, especially in heavy cover. I love these on overcast days, windy overcast days. They're absolutely excellent. And I usually use a white color or some sort of shad color. But depending on the water, just go with either translucent or white. Second on the list is a lipless crankbait. Man, you can cover a lot of water with a lipless crankbait. And not only that, when you get those pop-up schooling fish, these are excellent baits. You can keep them at the surface. They're loud. They kind of stand out from the other shad that are around. And usually, again, I'll go with a shad with a little chartreuse in it or some sort of variation of a shad color. But you can throw these a long ways. They're excellent baits to cover water with. Number 3 are square bills. You gotta have some square bills. You know, on sunny days, if it's windy, I usually go with a square bill instead of a spinner bait. And the key to these, you want to get one that's got a little erratic action to it, that kicks out left or right. You bump it off a piece of cover, that's really going to get those reaction strikes. But again, awesome bait for fishing shallow. You can hit it off wood, grass. You know, it kind of stays between that 2 to 4 foot range when bass are really looking up for shad. So these are excellent baits for the fall. You gotta have a topwater in the mix, and for me, I'm going with a spook or some sort of walking bait. You can cast these things a very long ways. They're very aerodynamic, and they have a subtle walking action, but a loud sound that brings those bass up. Again, it kind of stands out from the fray of all the other shad that are normally around, and some sort of white pattern, shad pattern really works well. But awesome in the schooling fish when they're coming up, and just an awesome bait to cover water with when they're busting on the surface. Going to plastics, you gotta have some sort of shad style fluke or stick bait. These are erratic. You can work them at the surface. You can let them sink for suspending bass. You can fish them on the bottom even if you want to. Belly weighted hook, double fluke rig, nose hook, jig head. There's so many ways to fish this bait, and it really does look like one of those shad that they're chasing. So it makes it a very natural presentation if it's calm, or you can work it fast at the surface. It just really is a great bait you want to keep in your arsenal in the fall. And lastly, you know, I'm always armed with a jig, but fall is a great time to fish a jig, especially around wood. If you're on a lake that has wood, a jig is usually just a great bait to catch a big bass, and it does stand out from those shad. And I usually will fish a darker color like a black and blue or something like that. But the fish that is kind of being lazy on the bottom, really tight to cover, that's when I like to break out the jig in the fall. And it is a great bait to catch a big bass, as always. So guys, those are my 5 must-haves for fall fishing. You know, there's a lot of other things that I'll throw in the fall, but over my years of experience, those 5 baits are gonna catch you fish all over the country for bass when they're in fall mode. So I hope these tips help you, and I'll catch y'all later. Important to find the little points, the little islands that stick out. And those are the areas that the bass are really going to get in. That's often where you're going to find your biggest fish. Bass are like creatures of habit. They go to another fish off the same stump, guys. I'm telling you, there's multiple fish on this thing. It's in a perfect spot. Woo! I know you're ready to get back in the water, buddy. You're ready to get back on that stump. It's so great.